Welcome to CommercialDrones.fm, the podcast that explores the commercial drone industry, the people who power it, and the concepts that drive it. I'm your host, Ian Smith.
Hey everybody, Ian here coming at you from the Commercial UAV Expo 2018 in Las Vegas, Nevada. I've got a very special guest with me today, someone I've been trying to get on the podcast for ages, and a part of a company as well who I've been trying to get on that I've known for quite some time. We've got Mariah Scott. She is the president of Skyward, a Verizon company, and they're based out of Portland, Oregon. So welcome to the show, Mariah.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're busy at the expo, so we'll make this one short and sweet. But before we get into kind of the normal podcast routine and questions and these kinds of things, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how did you get into the drone industry?
Well, I've been in the drone industry for about 4 years. Actually, I think today might be my 4-year anniversary of joining Skyward.
Congratulations.
Yeah. And I mean, when I came in, using drones for commercial purposes was illegal. So it's kind of crazy to think about that, but it was. And most of my background is actually in enterprise software, and I really like regulated markets. Just a sucker for a big challenge. And drones were such an amazing opportunity to take what I knew about working in regulated markets and making it easy for people to use a new technology, combined with all this incredible potential to really transform the way businesses work.
And so Skyward started about 4 years ago, or roughly?
I think Jonathan Evans, who's the founder of Skyward, I think he started it in 2012, actually. And I joined in 2014 when Voyager Capital, who was our initial venture capital funder, initially funded the company. And I came in as the COO, and we ramped the company from there. We were acquired by Verizon in 2016.
Nice.
So yeah, it's about a year and a half ago.
2017, maybe.
Yes.
2017. See, time flies.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Exactly.
I think that drones are kind of like dog years, where you think 4 years ago, really? But
That's
it
true.
Seems like when I think about where the industry was, or even just 2 years ago or 6 months ago, it's growing so quickly.
It is. And so, okay, so tell us then, what is Skyward then? What does it do? So there's definitely people, a lot of them are listening to this and they know what Skyward is, but maybe you can give us a little bit of background. What is Skyward? Why was it created, and what does it do for customers?
We were created because we saw the intersection of the potential of the technology, the difficulty of easily adopting the technology. And we said, hey, there's an opportunity here. These drones are going to be aircraft. They're going to be aircraft. They're going to need to integrate with the other aircraft that are already out there. It's going to need to be safe, but that doesn't mean it can't be really innovative. So we set about how do we make it easy for commercial customers to adopt the technology, to use it in their business, to know where they can fly and safely access the airspace, and manage all the complexity of running a drone program.
And that's fleet management, it's operational stuff as well.
Yes. So what that looks like from a product point of view is we have software and services that help companies manage their drone program, manage their fleet, manage their people, their workflow, track all the information you need to track, manage your compliance, whether that's operational compliance with your corporate policies and procedures or regulatory compliance. And then we provide safe access to the airspace. We were the first Lance provider. We've been doing that for a little over a year now. And that has really opened up a lot of controlled airspace and given our customers the ability to fly in more places. That's what it's about.
Yeah, and the Lance rollout is finally complete across the entire U.S.
Yes, super exciting. It's been really neat to see how much Lance has accelerated our customers' ability to do business, to just use the drones in more places in more ways.
And I guess you guys are seeing, since you're a USS service supplier?
USS.
What is the FAA?
Unmanned
service supplier.
Unmanned service supplier.
I always forget. This is the hardest one for me.
There's too many acronyms.
Yeah. But you guys are one of those.
We are one of them. We are a service provider for Lance.
There you go. And so you see the data then of like people using Lance. And so has it met your expectations? Like I was just doing a podcast with Colin Snow right before you. So he has all this data that he's looking at. It wasn't Lance specific, but it's about just like interesting data points that he pulled out from his latest report. But are you seeing like what you kind of expected? Are you surprised? Are you satisfied with like how you feel that the industry is adopting and using Lance?
I think it has been what we expected, but we had really high expectations.
Yeah.
We knew from working with customers that lack of easy access to controlled airspace was a big barrier to taking jobs and executing jobs. We had customers who had contracts that they couldn't fulfill with drones because they couldn't get access to the airspace. So we knew that there was a lot of pent-up demand, and we knew that people were struggling through like 90 days to get approval. And I think we have definitely seen that increase in flights, increase in operations, increase in people growing their fleets and adding more pilots. It's definitely changed the arc of growth.
And so I was actually just asking, like doing a sound check before we started recording. And so you're not just interested and passionate about regulated markets. You are somewhat of an you are somewhat of an aviation enthusiast yourself. So you fly paraglider, or what do you fly?
I am. I'm a paragliding pilot.
That's amazing.
I like aircraft.
Yeah. And
yeah. I mean, I have a 107 license. I fly a drone. That's fantastic. It's fun. But about a year and a half ago, I learned to paraglide, which is an amazing feeling. That is a pure joy of flight. It's
purely unpowered, just floating around.
You just fly off the top of a mountain and you're up there while the sun goes down over the Cascades. It's incredible.
Jeez.
Yeah.
All you Portland people are so in touch with nature. No, that sounds amazing. That's really cool. I just wanted to call that point out. So one of the things that I think, okay, we have to talk about it, and I've been waiting, and everyone was like, what the heck is going on here? Why did Verizon acquire Skyward? So just setting the stage here, people were noticeably, I'm sure, like kind of like confused. Like, what does Verizon want with a drone, company that focuses on operations and everything? This seems very un-Verizon, so what's the deal here? Like, tell us a little bit about the background of the acquisition and the plan. Like, what was the purpose for this, and what are you guys working towards?
Sure. Well, the funny thing is that when we were independent, when we were out raising funds as a, small startup out there in Portland, we used to talk about how we saw drones as part of a network, and we thought that they would be managed as a network, that in order to reach the real potential of being able to have these sophisticated automated deployments, they had to be on a network. And we would talk about how we wanted to be the Verizon of drones. And then we ended up as the drones of Verizon. So there's two aspects from Verizon's point of view that we saw a lot of just synergy with. One is the network. So in order for drones to really reach that potential of being able to securely, safely, reliably fly beyond line of sight, fly in remote deployments, and that there has to be a network for connectivity, and Verizon has the nation's most reliable network. So that's a huge synergy from our point of view. And from Verizon's point of view, they are always looking for more devices to manage on that network. They manage millions of cell phones. They have a huge IoT division. Drones are another type of device to manage on the network.
Flying IoT.
Flying IoT, flying cell phones. There's different ways to think about that. The other thing for Verizon is that they actually have a really large fleet management division, and that we're part of that division. It's called Verizon Connect. And a few years ago, they acquired Telligis and Fleetmatics, which were big SaaS providers of commercial connected fleet management software.
Fleets, like we're not talking airplanes.
We're talking ground-based fleets.
Gotcha.
So commercial trucking, utility vehicles, construction, mining, engineering, insurance.
So all these vehicles are connected to their network. All these
businesses where you have fleets, whether those are cars, light trucks, big trucks, semis. So Verizon has a huge commercial connected fleet management software group.
Yeah.
And they looked at us and they said, hey, we're already managing these connected fleets on the ground. Let's figure out how we can manage connected fleets up in the sky. And that's what we do.
That's awesome.
So there was a lot of great complementary tech and just complementary customer base, because many of our customers in construction, engineering, mining, insurance, they do have air fleets and they have ground fleets. Huh. Now we've got a combination of connected software that can manage all of those deployments.
Very well said. I think that the layman in like me, I had no idea about this. I knew kind of what you were going to say after we've talked, throughout the time since the acquisition and stuff. But like I had no idea that Verizon was that. Like that was another aspect of their business. So that's really cool. And when you think about that, then it starts to make a lot of sense. So again, belated congratulations on that.
Today's episode is brought to you by kittyhawk.io, the enterprise solution for drone operations management, available on the web, iOS, Android, and DJI's Crystal Sky. Operating a successful commercial drone program doesn't have to involve a ton of tools and time making them talk to each other. With Kitty Hawk, you can manage your aircraft, operators, and airspace all from a single unified platform. Managers can use Kitty Hawk to monitor their fleet, assign missions, and effortlessly track compliance. Your pilots fly in the Kitty Hawk app with safety and compliance settings that you customize based on your company's needs. There's even an API to make integrating Kitty Hawk into your workflows easy and automatic. Visit kittyhawk.io to learn more. This episode of Commercial Drones FM is brought to you by FLIR. Pretty much everyone in the commercial drone world knows about FLIR's thermal imaging technologies and may even have a basic understanding of how their sensors work. At Commercial Drones FM, we think this technology is deserving of the spotlight to reveal some of the incredible things thermal imaging drones can accomplish. Drones equipped with thermal imagers offer a way to see the world from a different perspective, which can help identify infrastructure problems, locate missing people, and increase safety and efficiency across a variety of industries. The value of thermal imaging for commercial drone operations is undeniable. So I want to use this podcast as a platform to dive deep into the world of heat and seek out the best practices and the unique use cases that make thermal imaging sensors the most drone-ready payload for commercial drone applications right next to RGB cameras. So join us over the coming months as we invite FLIR and their customers into our studio to discuss the technical and practical uses of their groundbreaking efforts in aerial thermal imagery. Okay, back to the show.
And now, looking to the future, like I don't know where I see it. Social media, I see stuff. You're talking to people in formal settings and giving, presentations and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
And so you guys are calling, so UTM, another acronym here, you guys are calling, or an initialism rather, you guys are calling UTM Universal Traffic Management, when like our normal way of thinking of it is like UAS traffic management or unmanned. So tell us just a little bit about your thoughts there, and like how does this, so now we've set the stage of like the Verizon and everything. So how does this all kind of come together? Like what is the future then that you're going towards with this big Verizon network, and how is this going to work?
Well, I had the opportunity to testify a few weeks ago before the House Aviation Subcommittee. And it was a hearing on the safe integration of UAS into the national airspace. And it was a really interesting insight to kind of what the FAA and what the government is grappling with and thinking about. They know they need to encourage innovation, they know they need to encourage drones, and they need to protect safety and the sort of integrity of the airspace. So I talked in that testimony about the concept of universal traffic management, and that we shouldn't think about we're going to have one system for drones, we're going to have one system for aircraft, and we're going to have one system for flying car, passenger, drone, vehicle things, right? Like they're all aircraft. They're all going to be in the airspace. And you're a helicopter pilot. Yes. You know that the helicopters already fly where the drones fly, and that's where those passenger drone aircraft are going to also fly.
Yeah.
So you need one set of interoperable systems. It's not going to be a monolithic system, but it does need to be a universal system so that we think about what are the standards, what are the technical standards, what's the regulatory framework that will allow us to safely integrate all of these types of aircraft, whether they have a pilot or they don't have a pilot. Doesn't matter as much as they all need to share that public airspace. So we need a universal traffic management system. We need to think about that concept in that way rather than a set of discrete, different things that may not talk to each other.
And I know Jonathan Evans could geek out and nerd out about this all day. I mean, he is just such an accomplished pilot himself with so much experience, and he's on the GUTMA, the Global UTM Association, and he participates in all that stuff. So like Skyward is really heavily invested in this. And so what does this culminate into then? Like, okay, you guys participated in these associations and in testifying. How does it come together? Are you guys going to like building a platform maybe for this to like kind of sprout up and be able to be used, or what does this kind of mean?
We're already providing access to the airspace through LANs. So I really encourage people to try to think about it. This is an incremental set of steps. UTM, whether it's universal traffic management or something else, it's a concept. It's a system of systems. It's not a thing that you build and then it's there. It's like the internet. It's going to grow up over time, and we'll take specific steps towards that. But from Skyward's point of view, what we really want to see is global interoperability. We want to see technical standards that are interoperable, that will allow innovation, allow a level playing field, allow lots of parties to contribute, and create a really safe, reliable system around universal traffic management. So we're looking for common regulatory frameworks, so we don't have a patchwork of different rules, right?
Yeah.
And then we're looking for common global interoperable standards. And I think a lot about healthcare IT. I spent time in healthcare IT before I came to drones. That's a place where you don't have global interoperability, you don't have global standards, and it's really difficult for innovation, and it has become really difficult to drive safety as well.
Can you give like an like what in that industry, like what is something
Think about if you went overseas and something happened to you, no one in any hospital you checked into would have any idea what your medical record was. Or even if you had insurance or any background of you. But you would expect if you went to a financial system that you can put your debit card in any ATM anywhere in the world, right? And it'll work. Because in financial services, we have global interoperable technical standards. We need to think about UTM in the same way because we have the chance to build it now. So we're really invested in the industry groups, in working with the regulatory groups, because we want to see a system where we have technical standards where if you've got a drone in the US and you want to dispatch it from Europe, you can do that and you know it's going to work and it's going to be safe. And that's the end goal for us.
That's really interesting. And like you say, that's a long-term, a long-term project to work on. It's very incremental. I mean, Part 107 was one thing, but now we have to work towards that reality. And I think that'll probably enable a lot more use cases as well, because they'll be certifiable, like potentially like, hey, this network is certified as being very reliable. You can connect to it and do like maybe XYZ beyond visual line of sight operation or something.
That's absolutely where we're going as Verizon, is working to connect the drones to the network, to seek the certification that we would need to prove the safety case around that network connectivity for LTE as a conduit for beyond line of sight or more complex operations. But the standards and the global interoperability work goes hand in glove with that, because we're doing that work as part of GSMA, as part of 3GPP. These are all the telco. These are the telco.
My eyes are like, I'm like, what is this?
These are the telco acronyms. This is how the global telecom industry comes together to agree on their standards for safe communications and for security and reliability. So we're bringing the work with UAS into those forums. And then the work that Jonathan's doing driving GUTMA, which is a global industry standards organization looking to promote drone-specific technical standards around things like registration and flight declaration and identification and safe, all the these bedrock principles that you need if you're going to have an interoperable system.
Wow. Lots of work to be done. But if anyone still had questions as to the whole Verizon acquisition, that like seals the deal right there. That makes so much sense. So no one has any questions about that anymore. You are not allowed after listening to this. So anything new, then what, like, okay, that's like that's like a far, far future, and it's like a huge challenge to overcome. And I'm sure the industry will appreciate all the effort that goes into that once, you know, there's more results to show. But anything more like immediate, like, do you guys have any news or anything that you want to announce? I don't know.
Well, what we're focused on right now is trying to solve problems for people who are running drone programs today. So how can we help them automate the workflow? How can we help them get safe access to more airspace? Just make it easier and more efficient to run a safe program. So those are features like in-flight, which is our new ground control station, so that we can automate the workflow from the office where you're doing your pre-flight planning, getting your LANC authorizations out to the field. When you dispatch that job to someone who's going to fly it, now they have all the tools they need in the field to safely run that mission.
When you say ground control station, you just mean it's software, right? It's not like a physical, okay. Gotcha,
it's software.
Gotcha.
And that is seamlessly integrated back into the cloud, into the Office application, so that your program administrator can get all of the information back, get their reporting. It's, you know, this is a thing, it's not the most glamorous, but it is like the meat and potatoes of how do you run a safe and efficient drone program and make it easier and more automated while still ensuring safety.
Yeah. Totally.
It's not as exciting as talking about going beyond line of sight on a global network, but it's absolutely important to helping our customers today figure out, how do I drive ROI from this program? How do I make sure I'm getting the full potential of these drones that I've invested so much time and effort in training my team and trying to figure out how to use them? And we're really committed to that mission today, helping our customers run better programs.
And speaking of your customers, are there any customers you can like talk about, like that maybe interesting, that have like a cool case study that have been using Skyward and kind of, you know?
Yeah, we have a lot of customers in construction and engineering. That's where we're really focused. Hensel Phelps has been a big drone proponent and a big user of Skyward for a number of years, and we have several case studies with them. We also just recently announced our work with the Southern Company, which is a large utility company in the South, and they're going to be using drones for inspecting infrastructure and working today with their operations, and then helping them also go beyond line of sight as well.
Yeah, I imagine that they probably have like miles and miles of power line corridor, transmission corridor, and things like that to inspect.
They do, actually. And for the Southern Company, disaster response is actually a really big use case. So when the hurricanes hit, they're learning how to use drones and deploy drones in places where they can't send ground crews in, and it's too expensive to fly helicopters. Yeah. So it's a great use case. We actually helped Verizon coordinate its hurricane response to Hurricane Florence over the last couple of weeks. And our flight operations director ran the disaster response for the planning and dispatching both manned and unmanned flights using Skyward for all of Verizon's infrastructure.
Awesome. Well, very cool. It looks like we're running out of time here, so just want to thank you so much for being on the show, Mariah. It's great to have had you. Once again, Mariah is the president of Skyward, Mariah Scott. And actually, if someone wants to learn more, like, do you guys have like a blog and like webinars, I'm imagining, or just skyward.io is the website?
Skyward.io is the website. We do regular webinars, and those are all promoted on the website. So skyward.io.
Okay. Cool. Check out skyward.io, folks, if you want to learn more and check out what they're up to. They do all kinds of webinars and stuff. So, Mariah, once again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It was fun.
It was. So, my pleasure. Hopefully, we don't have a Hurricane Mariah anytime soon.
I hope not.
I'll get in touch with you if we see one on the radar. So, all right, folks, we are going to cut off the mics. Cheers.